sun and moon, but we're going to change our focus a little bit. Today we're going to discuss eclipses. Before we do that, let's review our words. We've been doing this every day now for a while, so you should be getting very used to it. Remember, first word we always review is an axis. An axis is an imaginary line that goes through the center of a rotating object. My finger's not imaginary, but it's going to act like an axis as I rotate the ball on it. Whew. Now remember, each rotation is what causes day and night. So if you guys are the sun right now, when it's rotated towards the sun, the earth has daytime. When it's rotated away, it has nighttime. So opposite parts of the earth are experiencing day and night. That's why we have time zones. That is not why we have seasons or years. A year occurs as something, the earth, revolves around the sun. So now pretend I'm the sun. That's why I wear my bright hat today. And the earth is revolving around me in an orbit. That's the path it takes. It takes an entire year for that to occur. While that is happening, we experience seasons because of the tilt of the earth on its axis as it revolves around the sun. So for example, if you guys are the sun again, and Sydney is the earth, right now, her northern hemisphere is tilted a little bit towards you in its revolution, so she'd be experiencing summer in the north, and her southern hemisphere would be experiencing winter. But 6 months later, she revolves. We're going to pretend that she's on the other side of the sun now. Her tilt would be reversed. So her northern hemisphere would be experiencing winter, and her southern hemisphere would be experiencing the summer. This has nothing to do with the fact that she's rotating. She's constantly rotating while she's tilted to day and night. That's not why we have seasons. We have seasons because of the tilt of the earth. When it's tilted more towards in its revolution, it gets all the direct sunlight. It gets hot. Tilted more away, indirect sunlight. It's colder. Now the equator, which would be kind of like where her waist is right now, really isn't affected by this. It's always getting direct sunlight. So it's always hot there. That's why it doesn't have the same seasons we have. Let's get to some new information. Let's talk about eclipses. I want to break that word down a little bit. Eclipse. Eclipse is just a fancy word for blocking something. In the case of solar and lunar eclipses, it means that it's blocking the sun's light. There's two different types of eclipses. There's a solar eclipse, there's a lunar eclipse. We're going to talk about the lunar eclipse first. Lunar means moon. So the lunar eclipse is when sunlight is being blocked to the moon. So let's pretend that the basketball is the earth. You guys are the sun. This is the moon. Lunar eclipses don't happen that often because think about it. While the sun is rotating and revolving around, while the earth is rotating and revolving around the sun, the moon is rotating and revolving around the earth. So they don't line up that much. I mean, you might have the earth over here. You might have the moon over here. Then as they're revolving, they don't always line up in a direct path. So it doesn't occur very often. Lunar eclipses only really occur twice a year, and they happen during full moons. But every once in a while, in their orbits, you have the earth lining up so that it's completely blocking sunlight to the moon. They just happen to line up perfectly in their orbit. That's a lunar eclipse. Doesn't happen for very long because eventually they're going to be revolving in different areas, but it does happen about twice a year. Let's look at what a solar eclipse would mean. Solar means sun, so solar eclipse basically means sun is getting blocked from the earth. So I'm going to bring you over here. We're going to pretend that this is our earth. And it's daytime, so we are getting sunlight. But every once in a while, and it doesn't happen that often, our part of the earth might line up so that we get sunlight to the earth, and the moon happens to get in between the sun and the earth, causing an eclipse. So that would mean that some of our sunlight would be getting blocked to certain parts of the earth. The last time that this happened, you guys were in first grade. is it was 2017. And it was only like the second or third day of school, and they decided to have us off school because they were very worried about people looking directly up as the solar eclipse was occurring. So I know some schools, if you were in Byrd or Nancy Grayson, they gave out the special eclipse goggles, and I was home with my kids, and we made like cereal box viewers. But you can't look directly up during a solar eclipse because it's a really, really bright flash of light at the beginning of it, because when the moon's moving in between the earth and the sun like that, it gets like a strong reflection and a bright flash of light. And it doesn't happen for very long because the moon's going to continue in its revolution, but it makes a dark shadow come across the earth in the middle of the day. So it's really a cool phenomenon. So we're going to talk more about eclipses, but the basic idea is eclipse means to block, and it's blocking sun's light. If it's a lunar eclipse, kind of like means moon block. Lunar is moon, eclipse is block. The moon is getting blocked by the earth. If it's solar eclipse, it's the opposite. The moon's blocking the earth from getting sunlight.